You're listening to the Public Health Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Dr. Charlotte Huntley. There is power in making a firm decision. I'm sharing a story with you on this episode about that very thing. Welcome to Public Health Entrepreneurs. This is the podcast for visionary leaders who are ready to transform public health and healthcare through innovation. I'm your host, Dr. Charlotte Huntley, and as a public health entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in healthcare and public health, I understand the unique challenges and opportunities that often come with bridging multiple disciplines and building businesses that create healthier communities. This is a story of how I've navigated 2025 in my own consulting business, and I want to share it with you. This is a decision to open up a little more vulnerably because I think that, we often win that way. At the time of this recording, it is, the end of 2025, and this has been a ridiculous year for public health. We have witnessed, gutting out, dismantling the systems and just all sorts of chaos. And it really stems from this presidential administration from the very beginning of the year. And the way that they've approached, the changes and the attack on public health is far beyond what any of us imagined. We've witnessed the dismantling of CDC and other federal agencies in a way that we never imagined would happen. The first part of the year, I feel like there was just this shock and stun, like we just couldn't believe what was happening while they were just snowballing. And a lot of us were just knocked all over the place. People were losing jobs, businesses were folding, and it has been just a crazy cycle throughout the year. It just continues day after day of one thing after another. And there's all this doom scroll, and it's affected a lot of us. We've been really trying to adjust our wellness and taking care of ourselves and just trying to, maneuver and manage, like weather the storm. So what I'm sharing with you is how I've navigated this and something that was really pivotal. Like when you're in the middle of something, you don't see exactly the lesson or what's working, but usually retrospectively, we review and we see what worked. So I knew in the first quarter, let me just reframe this. For those of you that may not be as familiar with my background, I've been an entrepreneur in public health for over 8 years. I've been podcasting, I was coaching, I had courses. I have more than one entity now, more than one business now, but I started with everything under one umbrella. And then over the last few years ago, we divided those up into more than one entity. And that's a whole different story for a different day. But I run a public health consulting firm specializing in epidemiology, really specializing in communication, helping our clients who are large nonprofit organizations and health foundations, and some private industry as well, but government sometimes, but primarily large nonprofits and foundations. We help them communicate their health information in plain language. Sometimes that's a variety of community assessments, reports. It can be delivered any number of ways, but we're always aiming for clear communication with whatever we deliver so that the end user, we're always imagining them being able to really understand what we're providing. As an epidemiologist, our background is usually super technical and we have our own language. So I really wanted to bring that clarity, that communication into every piece of work that we do. So a lot of times it's some type of strategic planning work, which is, like I said, sometimes those assessments fall under strategic planning. That's usually the category, strategic planning. And then also capacity building, because I also do a lot of workshop facilitation. I do speaking engagements. I moderate sessions. So I'm often serving in that capacity. And that is our main business. I have a team, a small team, and my podcast, the Public Health Epidemiology Conversations podcast, sits in that business. That business is 8+ years old, and it's very strong, and it's my primary business. This podcast, Public Health Entrepreneurs, and everything that I talk to you about on this podcast is under my business, Public Health Entrepreneurs. And here I've separated off. I used to talk about entrepreneurship, and because in consulting work, with my main business, and people would always ask and I respond, but it became too complex and we split it out. So here I provide support for folks like you who are listening. You're a public health professional. You have some sort of, usually some other background that you bring to public health, some set of expertise that you bring to public health. And you're either starting a business, you're trying to decide if you want to start a business, or you've been in business for a little while. In some aspect, consulting, course creation, speaking, some aspect of business. And this podcast and this business, the mastermind, the programs I keep talking about, is all designed to support you. And so this is a separate business. So what I'm sharing with you, and I'm saying this for the sake of clarity, make sure you all understand where I'm coming from. What I'm sharing with you, everything I talk about, from this framework to helping you with goal success and marketing and lead generation and sales, all those things are what I teach and coach, and I've followed and shared for years with my clients, my coaching clients, my mastermind clients. And it is exactly what I do in my consulting business and how I've operated for over 8 years. So I'm not saying one thing to you and doing something else myself. I'm literally sharing with you on these episodes what I do in my business. And in this year, if you haven't noticed, my emphasis on relationships and conversations and marketing, it's important because that's exactly how I've been able to, I won't say survive this year. I will even say thrive this year, because I think that anyone who is still in business at the end of this year, regardless of what your revenue numbers look like or the shape or structure of your business, if you're still in business, you're thriving, because so many are not in business at this point. And we're not putting anybody down, to be clear. It's just a way for you to celebrate where you are. You may be busy being disappointed about how things are not lining up, but if you're still in business, that's thriving. So I just want to mention that. So let me go back to the point. I say all of that to set the stage so you understand where I'm coming from. The point I'm making here is about clear decision, right? So as I look back, the first quarter or so of the year, I was like everyone else, in shock. Like, I can't believe this is happening and I can't wrap my brain around what's happening. And it was a paralyzing feeling because I'm trying to figure out, okay, all the momentum that I've had coming into this year went to a screeching halt. And I couldn't quickly pivot because I was in shock. So I had to, do all of my self-care. I even talked to you about that on this podcast, like how, we didn't take care of ourselves. I had to take some breaks. I had to step away. What I had been doing for self-care no longer worked. So I had to figure that out because, we have to take care of ourselves first. I couldn't help you. I couldn't lead my company and my team until I took care of myself. So that took a minute. By the time I got into, Q2, second quarter, we're talking about, around April or so, I'm really starting to kind of find my feet and figure, okay, I've got to do something here. But May was probably the most pivotal month of the year for me because things looked really grim. And I can say that my business over the years has I've always had momentum. I've always had momentum wrapping up one year, going into the next. My business has been on a growth trajectory. And for the first time, it was really, truly stagnant. And that was shocking to me. It was a different feeling. I was really wrestling with all of it because here I am all these years in business. I had already survived a pandemic with my business and we had gone through all of that nonsense. And this felt very much like that. Like we were hit almost blindsided and we're trying to figure out what to do next and first and all those things. So it had very much that feeling, but this was a little different. During the pandemic, I had a lot of work coming to me because of my background in virology and infectious disease and public health, and people were trying to figure out what to do, and there was money instantly available to fund these programs and initiatives. So I was being sought after, and money was not my biggest problem then. It was systems and trying to keep up with the work that was coming to me. This year, it was different. Like everything that I built and focused and specialized in my consulting work, the clients that I supported all really focused on communities of color and all of that was being dismantled. Like everything was crumbling. So that stagnant feeling was real. So in the month of May, I got to a point where this is where the decision came in. Okay. So the thing about a decision, you may have heard this before. You have to make a decision. When you make a firm decision, things start falling into place. And I realized that it started to fall into place almost instantly. because my decision was this. I was angry and I was frustrated when a lot of us in public health, we come into this field because of some personal story or some personal experience with we care about our family members or our population or something. We're very passionate about whatever it is that we care, our cause and what leads us here. And I had built this business and I cared about all the work that I was doing, my clients, the communities I serve. I've been very clear on that focus. And my decision was, if my business is going to fail, it's going to fail because I messed up. It is not going to fail because of some political administration and their views getting involved and tearing my business apart. So I made a firm decision. You're not taking this from me. If it's going to fall apart, it's going to be because I messed it up. And that decision changed everything. I brought my team members on to a call, and it was literally all hands on deck. We stopped almost everything that we were doing except key business development. And my team members had been with me for over 6 years, and then the other one about 3 years. So they bring a lot of institutional knowledge with them in our small business. And so everything I did after that was a result of that firm decision. Once I decided, you're not taking this from me. I don't know everything that's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm pulling on my experience in this industry so far and my ability to build the business that I've built and serve and have the impact that I've been able to have. And the need is still there. And it's not going to crumble and fail because of something else. If it's going to fail, it's because I messed it up. That was my firm decision. After that, I pulled my team together. We went back to ground zero. Like, what worked? What has always worked? And let's keep doing that. And then let's figure out how we are going to reshape and how we can serve and support. And I know that because all of us were stunned, not just as entrepreneurs, but our whole industry. So for me, it was relationships. I needed to lean in on the relationships that I built with my clients and with my community. And that's why I spent so much time talking about that on this podcast, because that got me into spaces and rooms. And as much as I could physically be present with my clients, I made it happen. And then the next best thing was, of course, using technology to be on calls. But having those conversations and being in the rooms was everything for how we turn things around in our business. And one thing after another, as I review back on things that we did across the summer, I threw some of my team members in and I was like, I need you to figure this out. I need you to try this out. And they were willing. They knew they were fighting for their jobs. They were fighting to keep this together. And I really leaned in on them and like their confidence. And I had to ask them, for their buy-in on this. And they rolled up their sleeves and we really got busy on figuring it out. And it was not like forgetting, like as if we don't know what to do. It was really refocusing on what has worked. What are our strengths? And then being of service. I talk a lot about being of service. So we led with service and leverage our relationships. Relationships are everything, because what I realized is my clients and my leaders were also frustrated and stuck and not knowing what to do. So we were able to lock arms and figure things out together. And that turned things around for our business. At this point, I'm just thrilled to see, I'm recording this in November of 2025. So when I go back and I remember what happened in the month of May and that moment when I made that decision and then everything else that started to trickle in after that has been, I'm really proud of how I was able to show up and do that. I've been sharing with you on this podcast because I want you to understand it. It's not that things are so instantly figured out. Sometimes it's so difficult to see the next step. We'll talk about not being able to see so far out. Sometimes you just see the next step. Some moments it was hard to even see the next step. Like the air was so foggy, I couldn't even see my foot to make the next step. I just had to kind of trust that I was making the right step and I was taking that forward step. And that's a part of this journey as an entrepreneur. And that's a part of what we do. But at the same time, the rewards are so high because we have gotten to this point. We're celebrating a renewed contract with a previous client who didn't think they had funding to continue, but then was able, they're very resilient. We worked for months and months in conversations. secured that funding to continue to work with me and my team moving forward. So I'm not telling you that, we're flying high and everything's all great. That's not it. But what I am telling you is once I made that decision, things started to shift. And this last several months, I have been back in the position of partnering with my clients, having the impact that I really want to see and have, and starting to see solutions where I can fit in and be a part of the bigger solution. I don't have to solve all of this. It's not on any one person to solve, but I've been able to see things from a different view and perspective. And I remind myself often of that decision. So I share all of this with you, and I hope that it inspires you. And I hope that you will also maybe do a little review introspectively of where you are in your business. Making that decision is so powerful. I also want you to realize that a result of that decision is why I've created the upcoming series of programs for all of you, including the strategic planning for your business and the programs that are following in the framework that I coach from: marketing and lead generation, offers and sales, systems and productivity, and mindset. The series of programs start with strategic planning because if you have not clearly set your goal, it helps you to set that goal. But all of this is a result of me making that decision. And now I wanted to find a way to help share this with you all as you need it. And this was the best way that I know to put it together. It worked for me years ago, and having programs like this and available to you, it makes it more accessible for more of you. And it allows me to serve you in a very different way that I can reach more of you as well. So I hope that this is very helpful. The series is coming up. Details will be on our website, publichealthentrepreneurs.com. Depending on when you hear this episode, and right now the strategic planning should be available, but the others are coming in the new year, earlier part of the year. So the best thing is to make sure that you have subscribed to our Public Health Entrepreneurs newsletter so that you receive updates as soon as these programs are available. And of course, you can keep checking our website because we'll make them available there as well. All right, everyone. Until next time, have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for listening. Visit publichealthentrepreneurs.com to learn more.